Steve Jobs famously said, "Details matter. It's worth getting them right."
Under GDPR, that isn't inspiration, it's survival. Because one overlooked detail in data handling, one misconfigured privacy setting, one unclear consent matter can result in penalties large enough to shake even the biggest global companies.
Today we're breaking down the top 10 GDPR fines and how seemingly minor choices triggered massive regulatory hits on companies like Meta, Amazon, Instagram, and many more.
Why was Meta, Facebook, fined 1.2 billion euros under GDPR in 2023? In 2023, Meta was issued a 1.2 billion euro fine by the Irish Data Protection Commission, or DPC. The DPC found that users' personal data from Facebook was transferred to external servers without adequate safeguards, violating GDPR requirements on international data transfers. The record-breaking penalty followed a binding decision by the European Data Protection Board. GDPR Articles 44 through 49, rules governing cross-border data transfers. 2. What led to Amazon's 746 million euro GDPR fine in 2021? Following Meta's penalty, in 2021, Amazon was issued a 746 million euro fine by the Luxembourg's Commission nationale pour la protection des données, or CNPD. The CNPD found that customer data was processed for targeted advertising without valid consent, violating GDPR principles of lawfulness and transparency. GDPR Articles 5(1)(a) and 6, Fairness, Transparency, and Lawful Processing. 3. How did Instagram's public data settings result in a 405 million euro fine? In 2022, Instagram was issued a 405 million euro fine by the Irish Data Protection Commission, or DPC. The DPC found that minors' contact details were exposed through public business profiles and default visibility settings, violating GDPR requirements for the protection of children's personal data. GDPR Articles 6(1)(f), Lawfulness of Processing Children's Data. 4. Why did Meta face a 390 million euro penalty for ad consent violations? In 2023, Meta was issued a 390 million euro fine by the Irish Data Protection Commission, or DPC. The DPC found that users were required to accept personalized advertisements to access Facebook and Instagram, violating GDPR principles regarding lawful processing of personal data. The decision followed a binding determination by the European Data Protection Board, or EDPB. GDPR Articles 6(1)(b), Lawfulness of Processing, Invalid Consent. 5. How did TikTok breach GDPR rules on teen privacy? The same year, TikTok was issued a 345 million euro fine by the Irish Data Protection Commission, or DPC. The DPC found that TikTok set teen user accounts to public by default, allowing anyone to view or comment on their content, violating GDPR principles of data protection by design, by default, and data minimization. GDPR Articles 8 and 25, Child Consent and Privacy by Design and Default. 6. Why was LinkedIn fined a 310 million euro fine by the Irish DPC in 2024? As regulators deepened their focus on ad targeting, LinkedIn was issued a 310 million euro fine by the Irish Data Protection Commission, or DPC. The DPC found that LinkedIn processed user data for targeted advertising without valid consent, violating GDPR requirements for lawful processing of personal data. GDPR Articles 6(1)(a), Lawfulness of Processing, based on cookie consent.
7. What GDPR violations led to Uber to a €290 million fine? As scrutiny expanded to cross-border platforms in 2024, Uber was issued a €290 million fine by the Dutch Data Protection Authority, or DPA. The DPA found that Uber transferred UE users' personal data to U.S. servers without adequate safeguards, violating GDPR data sharing provisions governing international data transfers. GDPR Articles 44 to 49, International Data Transfer Provisions. 8. How did Meta's data scraping incident lead to a €265 million fine? In 2022, Meta was issued a €265 million fine by the Irish Data Protection Commission, or DPC. The DPC found that personal data of over 500 million Facebook users was scraped and published online due to insufficient security and privacy safeguards, violating GDPR privacy policy principles of integrity and confidentiality. GDPR Articles 25 and 51F, Privacy by Design and Integrity and Confidentiality of Processing. 9. Why was Meta penalized a €251 million for data protection failures? In 2024, Meta was among the notable cases in GDPR enforcement fines, receiving a €251 million penalty from the Irish Data Protection Commission. The DPC found that Meta failed to implement adequate data protection measures at a system level, violating GDPR requirements for data protection by design and by default. GDPR Articles 25, Data Protection by Design and Default. 10. What GDPR transparency failures cost WhatsApp a €225 million fine? In 2021, WhatsApp was issued a €225 million fine by the Irish Data Protection Commission, or DPC. The DPC found that WhatsApp failed to clearly inform users and non-users about how their data was collected and shared with Facebook, violating GDPR privacy controls principles of transparency and fair processing of personal data. GDPR Articles 51A, 12, 13, and 14, Transparency and Information Obligations.
So, if your company handles EU personal data, GDPR is already at your doorstep, regardless of where you operate. These fines aren't stories, they're warnings, and the scale of enforcement continues to grow. GDPR isn't optional. It is a global rulebook, and every organization, from Meta to Amazon to any data-driven business, is accountable under it. To avoid becoming the next headline, Datahut ensures your scraping and data collection processes remain compliant before regulators act on a single mistake. Be proactive, be compliant, stay ahead with Datahut.